music for me is a calling, right? And my job is to humble myself to what the melody is trying to tell me. TRC, that was mostly a joke, to be quite honest. The one thing that could balance the scales, you are vilifying, you're calling it racism. What are you expecting from us? What does Trump want from South Africa? Because he's so insistent. You know, Caesar, for the first time, I'm not feeling hopeful. I'm worried.
Fam, I just want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, Pace Car Rental. Use promo code SMWX for 10% off your next car rental, and make sure you show Pace some love as they're showing this channel some love. Now, let's get into the episode. Spread the fire. Welcome back to SMWX. And today I am delighted and honored to be joined by one of South Africa's great songwriters, composers, and musical visionaries, none other than Simphiwe Dana. Thank you so much for joining us on SMWX.
Thank you so much for having me, Caesar.
It's a great pleasure to have you.
Actually, I think I'm seeing you for the first time. I've never met you in person.
I've been listening to your music since I was 16, and this is quite a moment.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I hope it was enriched your life somehow.
It certainly has. It certainly has. I mean,
thank you.
Zandisile is a landmark musical contribution, and I'm interested in how that project came about, because I heard that dreams were involved in the creation of the music.
Yeah, and then perhaps at some point we will then talk about cultural identity as part of our walk to freedom. You know, like the mountains that we must still climb, as Nelson Mandela said.
Absolutely.
And I'm mentioning that because my work has got a lot to do with feeling human in your own body. And I'm speaking now particularly to the Black person, given our history. Yeah. And what is needed for us to get the therapeutic healing that we need, given what we've been through.
Absolutely. How did the song Di Ready, one of the songs which you're famous for, I just think as a composition, one of the best things to ever come out of our country. How did that song come about?
I was working in IT. I was working for an IT company as a web developer and graphics designer. And I was getting frustrated. I actually had already written quite a few songs by the time I wrote Ndi Ready. So basically it was my way of saying, well, okay, I'm ready now. What's the next step? I've got the songs. I can write songs. I've got them there ready. What's the next step? You know, as someone who feels spiritually led, sometimes I take risky decisions that someone would say, given everything, that is an unfortunate decision that you are making. But it's because I feel strongly about it. And when I feel strongly about it, I know that I'm being guided towards that and everything is going to be okay. And I'm saying this because one of the most irresponsible things that I've ever done was to move to Joburg, leaving behind a bursary, forfeiting a bursary, let me put it like that.
Wow. That
paid for everything and even gave me a job, you know, in my spare time. Moving to Joburg, not having a place to stay, like still studying, so still having to find a place to finish my IT studies. That was very unlike me, but I felt strongly this was the time. It's now or never. So I took that leap of faith. And things worked out. So now, when I wrote Ndi Ready, I was like, okay, guys, I've done it all. I've taken the leap of faith. I've come, and now I can write as well. You know, I've grown. Now I'm ready. So please please bring whatever you brought me here for. I've got the songs. Bring me everything that I need to make this work that you gave me, happen. And that happened. So Diredi basically was me saying that, now I need your support. I'm finally ready on my side. Yeah.
That's amazing. So I've always wondered what the backstory of that song was.
And the fun thing about that song is that it was a cappella.
Really?
No, the entire album was a cappella. And when the producer did the instrumentation to it, at first I was just like, song.
So
I'm not a person who likes kum kum.
Yeah,
it is very
So you first recorded it a cappella?
All the songs.
Wow.
Yeah, for the first album, yes.
That's amazing. And then, because now that guitar sound
yes.
kind of is iconic, what did you think when you first heard that, the instrumentation part?
I actually loved the instrumentation, but it was still weird to my ears, right? Because if you come to my place, I'm playing that soft, demure music. But I love performing that song.
I can only imagine. I'd love to be there when that song comes on.
When I'm getting down.
Goes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, also just the writing. I'm fascinated in. So, do you remember which parts came first? Was it the Ndiredi, Ugundis and Pumoya part that came first, or was it the Temba Limbi Andinalo?
It was Ndiredi.
Ndiredi came
yes.
first. Okay, wow.
Because like I said, it came out of frustration. But guys, I'm ready. Where are you?
Yeah.
What's the next step? And therefore, it was Ndiredi. Come on. So that's how the song started. Yeah.
And who are you speaking to? Are you speaking to?
I'm speaking to God and my ancestors.
Sure.
Yes.
Love it. And how do you reflect on all of your projects have had different artistic and public success, but how did it feel when that album just blew up right from the beginning?
You'd have to understand my character. I'm an extremely shy and self-conscious person. I'm better now. I'm grown, but I was much worse when I was younger. I'm a wallflower of note. I was much, much worse. Even to get me to talk was,
I didn't realize that.
Quite something. So now to be thrown into my dream, now I have to, be present, talk to people. It was quite overwhelming for me, for starters. And secondly, I'm not a person who's used to celebrating. I'm a perfectionist. And what makes me happy is that, it's perfect. Whatever happens else, after that, I do not... And I'm not necessarily. I don't necessarily think that it's a good thing that I don't celebrate my achievements, because when the album blew up, what I felt mostly was fear. I was terrified. Now I have to do interviews. Sure. Now, first time I got on stage in Joburg. How shy I am, and it still happens now. I couldn't even look at the crowd. I closed my eyes and I sang until I was done. And then I slowly opened them because it was silent when I sang. And I thought, they don't like me. They're waiting for me to be done. And then I opened my eyes at the end and I looked and it was still silent. And then there was this huge applause and I got a standing ovation and I was like, I've made all the right decisions. I'm supposed to be here. So anyways, I was saying that I'm shy. I'm extremely reserved. I'm a recluse as well. I think social media is the one space where, I open up to the public a bit. And I think it's that safety of being at home, like while you're doing it.
Interesting.
Yeah, like that makes you feel like, like you can talk. So it took me a while to even get accustomed to this new energy, like in my life. And I was extremely grateful. It might not have shown because of the self-consciousness, the shyness, the feeling overwhelmed and all of that. So then because of all of those feelings, I would just focus on the next thing that I need to do. Not try and think too much about, okay, people are going mad out there and it's my name on everyone's lips and that's freaking me out. Yeah.
There's a song of yours and I've always wondered what you truly meant by the lyric, which is a song, and the lyric I'm thinking of is Sundiqondisise.
Yeah, Sundiqondisise.
Yeah. How did that come about, and what were you trying to say with that? Because I've got my theories, but now I have...
Actually, I'd like to hear your theory first.
Yeah.
The thing about songs is that once it leaves your hands, it no longer belongs to you.
Yeah. It's
right?
Yours, yeah.
And that's why I'd love to hear your interpretation.
My interpretation
of that song.
is about don't overanalyze me, kind of thing. So don't try to overinterpret what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that's my...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like Zundiqondisise, it means like listen, hear me and hear me well. So it's fighting words.
Yeah. Fascinating.
But it's not a fighting song. It's just literally putting someone in their place. Someone who's disrespecting you.
Love it.
And this song basically is about like the race relations in SA. When I say that, you are not my dream. You are not my purpose. Zangandati andinako. I never said that I couldn't. You are the one who made me as if non-educated, a non-educated buffoon, basically. And then it says, I've got my own way of doing things. So do not think that I need you.
Yes, exactly.
I'm nothing without you.
That's so interesting because I always thought of it in the context of like a relationship rather than a political statement to... Yeah.
That's why I'm saying because it could easily be that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So once a song leaves your hands, it's no longer yours.
Wow. Wow. I mean, on that note, your music touches at the intersection of political speech. You've written songs about Marikana. You've written songs about the way that democracy hasn't lived up to its promise. You've alluded to and referenced Biko a lot. And I'm interested firstly artistically in how you... But your art is also good. That's the thing. Like, it's easy to like be... A lot of people who talk politically, but you're like, yeah, but this is not a good song, you know? And then there are people who have wonderful music, but the message is not necessarily a deep message. How do you navigate that balance of trying to create beauty and impact at the same time with your work?
Excuse me. I do not try. I'm not sitting there thinking, how am I going to marry this and this and this? How am I going to put out this certain message? Music for me is a calling. I allow the song to lead me. I may get one line or get a melody, right? And my job is to humble myself to what the melody is trying to tell me.
Wow.
Like what that first like lyric that I got in my head is trying to say to me. So I'm not formulaic. You know, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. No, I've been called to my studio. It's time to write a song. Okay, what is a song?
That's so fascinating.
No, so I don't intentionally go out of my way to write political songs with this. It's just so happens that the personal is the political. So I write about how, like, the society that I live in, how it's affecting me as an individual. And therefore, if it's affecting me, it's affecting others as well. So these things, they come up on their own. I do not, go out of my way, to put out a certain message. When I'm, on social media, yes, like, that's me talking. But when it comes to music, it's no longer just me.
I heard something about music coming to you in dreams.
Oh, yes. I literally just had one song that came to me in a dream. That song is Zandisile.
Zandisile came in a dream.
Yes, and that's the reason why I even called the album Zandisile.
Wow.
So what happened is that I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, Zazi. And I was 22. Too young to be doing it to Zabantu Abadala, definitely. And obviously I freaked out. It was my second year in Joburg. I had just started finding my feet, etc., etc. Obviously I freaked out, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, because abortion did not cross my mind. And I've got absolutely nothing against abortion. I'm just saying that, the way I freaked out was because I was like, how am I going to take care of this child? Not what am I going to do? Am I going to keep it or not? I was going to keep my child already. I knew I was going to keep my child. But now, how am I going to do this? I'm 22. I just started working, I think, at the time. And I'm 22, So I went to bed, like, with all of these fears. And when I woke up in the morning, I had this song that I woke up singing from my dreams. It's one of those, most times I take very long to write a song.
Right.
That's why I even say I did not write that song. I just poured it out.
That's amazing. Like, I've had experiences of hearing music in my dreams, but I can never remember it. Like, I know I heard music, but to be able to transfer it into your waking life is quite a special moment. Yeah, no, I mean, there are some tricks to that. Okay. You write it down the minute you wake up, whatever you remember. And the thing about dreams, when you do that, even the stuff that you'd already forgotten, it starts to come back. Wow. It starts to come back. Yeah. And then there are obviously, like, those dreams that are just insistent. You won't forget it. So, like, this one was one of those. It's amazing. Because it was an important message. Literally, I just went to my tiny studio. I sang. I didn't even write down the lyrics. I wrote the lyrics afterwards. They just poured out of me because, I woke up singing the song. It's not my song. It was given to me. I completely believe that. It's amazing how an entire full piece of music can come to you in a dream, like, entire piece of music. I still cannot believe it, like, today, especially because it never happened again. It would be nice if every night. Wow, I must go back and listen to that song. You mentioned social media, and it's refreshing how outspoken you are in that space. And one of the big questions that's confronting South Africa right now is, the role of freedom of expression in art, and especially song, and how it affects, the country at the moment. At the moment, we've got this big debate going on about Tubuliponu and that song. What do you make of that debate right now? And do you think a song like that is a way of preserving anti-struggle heritage, or do you think it goes too far in antagonizing white South Africans? I do not think that it goes too far, but I feel like it should not be used to troll. It should
be given the reverence it deserves, because the people that wrote that song, they wrote it and they put a lot of pain in that song. What happened to them, like their experiences during apartheid. I mean, yesterday I was at Cornhill at the women's jail. Right? People that wrote these songs, they wrote them in pain, right? When they say that Sizwabulala Amabulu, they're writing that song because they are burying their loved ones in big numbers. So whether they want to be in a war or not, they are in a war. Right?
Yeah.
So this story has a significant historical context to it, and it should not be misused.
Yeah.
It should not be used to troll. Let's have reverence for the lives lost. I do not worry too much about the agendas that are being pushed, the disinformation campaigns, etc., etc., etc. We chose a different route in 1994, right? That route is not necessarily working as fast as we wanted to. Or perhaps we were too over confident about timeframes. We did not put into account the human element. So 30 years is definitely not enough time, to undo hundreds of years. Because we keep talking about apartheid. We should talk colonialism, because, this thing didn't start in 1948. It didn't start then, right?
Sure.
There was just a new system of oppression coming into effect.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cesar, I lost my train of thought.
No problem. Well, it was an amazing train of thought. We were talking about both the song and the reverence for the song, and then you were going into 94 and what that means.
Yes. So I do not want our struggle songs. That's our history. That's our history. But do not abuse our history to troll people, because you're also taking away the power of the reason why the song was created, what was happening. You are diluting the song.
I love that, because it accounts for both that the song has a place in our history and it has a role, and we should never be quick to ban things that are so important to our history, but that doesn't mean that we should use them in all contexts or for the wrong reasons. And I haven't heard, a nuanced take like that, because it feels like we're being forced to say either ban the song forever or it should be used always and in all contexts. And the right answer is somewhere in between that, probably. I mean, what do you make of just this push from the conservative white right in South Africa, but also globally at the moment, to just deny apartheid's existence on the one hand, but then elevate the experience of white South Africans?
We built this country in the same breath.
Absolutely. And anything that happens to us is genocide.
Yes.
But apartheid wasn't really a...
So basically what happens to people with white skin is more important than anything else that happens to anyone else.
Yeah.
What do I think about AfriForum solidarity? I mean, they've always been there, these guys, and under different names. And now it's happening the world over, this rise in, what do you call it? I think saying racism is simplifying it, but it's racism. Like the disinformation campaigns, those were used even during apartheid. It's nothing new. Like, it's just textbook PR propaganda. It's nothing new, because as people on the ground, we know what's happening. So who are they lying to? Someone yesterday, actually, I was talking to someone and about how sorry, I have this thing of losing my train of thought, because like my mind, it just works like in different directions.
I completely understand.
I'm trying to remember like what I was. Yes.
And,
yes. So I was talking to someone yesterday, and we're talking about how the dehumanization of Black people is coming back, and how people like really want to be like we're talking about just showering, like being clean, being hygienic, and this lady says to me, like they'll say that Black people don't bath, don't do this, but who's cleaning your houses? Like, who's doing this? And then I said to her, I actually think there's a strong possibility that racists of today really believe these tropes about who Black people are and what they are like, the whole Swat Khafar thing. But the people who created this narrative, they knew exactly what they were doing. By painting Black people a certain way, they knew it was not true. But they had, like a long-term plan, of how they needed to, use Black people. So they had to dehumanize them. But my fear is that people of today, they really believe those.
It's scary, but you're touching on something that is so important and so deep, which is that those people who push these myths and these narratives, however many of them they're more than I thought they were, because people are coming out of the woodwork with
it's actually insane, hey?
I'm like, suddenly people feel so confident to
reveal. I've been talking to my sister about that, but actually the one thing that, as someone who's an observer, I'm like, it scares the hell out of me, but at the same time, I'm like, this is what human beings are like today. I'm like, thank you for being honest. Now like we know like what we are dealing with, because it's insane. I don't know if Elon Musk has changed the algorithm or what, but people are feeling so free. Like, I was called once a kafir on Twitter, and I was like, oh my God, the first time I was called it, this is the second time I'm being called a kafir in my life. Wow. So it's becoming that kind of space where, everyone is just open about how they really feel. And I'm like, actually, everyone, tell us how you really, really feel. Let's know, So yes, because so that like we know what the future looks like and what needs to, what we need to do.
Absolutely. I mean, for a long time, I think there was, one would say, there's still racism in South Africa, and people would say, no, I mean, where's the racism? You can't see it. Well, there you go. It's on full display. But one thing you said, I also want to touch on, which is that these racist people, on the one hand, they claim there's a genocide against them. But on the other hand, as you say, they let Black people in so close to them as they exploit them as domestic workers or farm workers. So it's this weird situation where you're allowing Black people close to you to exploit them, but at the same time you're saying there's a genocide. It just doesn't make sense.
And you wouldn't move to Orania where there are no Black people. Because it's not nice there. Diversity is nice, guys.
Exactly.
Diversity is really, really nice.
And white people, I mean, we can talk about how we are one country and ultimately, we occupy the same political community going forward. But white people have always, the Apartheid project relied on Black people. It wasn't as if white people were just out there living their best lives and Black people were like this afterthought. The country was built on the back of Black people. And that's what people just don't understand.
Like they're basically saying, yeah, no, but we instructed, you would not have built it without us. And I'm like, okay, like there's something to that. I don't care. What I care about is the fact that you impose that on us. We didn't ask you to come and build here. Like you're acting like you helped us. No, you imposed on us, and violently so. And now you want us to be thankful because you built this and this and this and that. It's. Are you okay in the head? Literally, that's the question. Exactly. Are you okay?
And to be honest, what isn't being spoken about is, so apartheid ends through the pressure and the work of the Black liberation struggle. And then people didn't turn around and say, okay, now it's time for revenge.
That's what they're so scared of.
Exactly. Believe me, that never, if that happened, people would really know about it.
Yes, of course. I know, even if it happened in smaller, they would still make sure that the entire world knows about it.
Exactly. There was no, okay, now we're going to have reparations properly. There's going to be revenge. There's going to be, people must go to jail immediately. There's going to be a Nuremberg trial, which would all have been legitimate. No.
Yeah, I mean, like that, what was it called? What's it called again? TRC. Yeah. That was mostly a joke, to be quite honest, if you were to tell the truth.
Yeah.
It became like, well, okay, at least I spoke about what happened to me. But what change did that bring to your life? Like your family was destroyed. Are these TRC hearings, bringing any change in your life after that?
Where do you think we should go as a country from here? And how are you are you feeling hopeful about the future of the country, or are you feeling worried, or some combination?
Caesar, for the first time, I'm not feeling hopeful. I'm worried. I've always felt hopeful throughout, through all the presidents. I've always felt hopeful. And I'm not talking about like this president now. I'm not feeling hopeful because of him. I mean, I've also critiqued all of our presidents.
You have.
All of them, including Mandela. I've critiqued all of them. But I did it in a way that I wanted them to do better. Not to say, but it's over. They must just go away, I wanted them to do better. So when I wrote Mantubiko Street, for instance, and I said, we're Namongameli, Thabo is my favorite president ever. It was not because I was fighting him. No. I was like, education is lacking there. You can do more. You can do more to educate. And also, the reason why I mentioned Mantubiko Street is that whole line of, infusing back life into the empty husk of the black man. So leading them to the water, and they drink. Where is the water? Lead us to the water.
So why are you feeling worried now?
It's not just of what is happening in South Africa. It's just the world. They are just, the earth is moving underneath us. We don't know tomorrow. We'll wake up no longer being a part of anything that's to do with America. We don't know if the EU is, if Trump threatens them, they won't dump us. We don't know why Trump is doing this, because there's no way he does not know it's not true. Come on.
Yeah.
So what is the agenda? Because now we have to worry. Okay, there was an agenda in Libya. There was an agenda in Iraq. They knew that, what they were propagating out there was not true, but they needed a way in that would be justifiable to the masses of the world. So, my fear, when it comes, not from when it comes from inside, what does Trump want from South Africa? because he's so insistent on this. Like, and that's why I was happy with our president, you know, for not, you know, taking the bait, you know, like responding in anger. As much as I feel like he could have said, okay, I heard you, can I have a right of reply? In the calm way that he speaks. And then, like, you know, like he put some facts on the table.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I also, in that very same breath, I was quite happy that he came out the bigger guy. He did not entertain his madness. You know, he didn't entertain him too much. Yeah. You know, and when he thought he was insulting him, Ramaphosa just laughed because he like basically like, you can't insult me. Like, you know, you know, I will never stoop that low. I'm a president, you know, kind of thing. So he held himself very well, like in the face of that onslaught. But things like that make me scared because we do understand that South Africa as a country is important in global politics. And locally, I'm scared because everything seems to just slowly be falling apart. You know, like prices of things have skyrocketed. A lot more people don't have jobs. You know, like now, like people are clashing, like over like illegal immigration, which I think there are valid points there. You know, like we need to stop labeling everything xenophobia. Sure. Like we have valid points when it comes to that need to be addressed urgently, because the sovereignty, what's the right word, when like the security of the country is in, you know, like we have to think about the security of the country, like, and all of these things. And then there's the right wingers, like on the side, you know, painting our country. What do they want to happen? Like they want to scrap BEE. Do they understand how BEE has helped our communities? It has built, because you educate one black person, they will educate 5 from their family.
Absolutely.
Right? You empower one black person, you empower like maybe even 10 families. Like, you know, do they understand how the reason why we did not demand back, you know, our land and at interest for that matter, with interest, is because we're like, okay, we will work this amicably through BEE. Now, when they vilify BEE, what do they want from us? Because I honestly feel like Black South Africa embraced the new South Africa.
So true.
They really did, you know, even as they still remained poor, like for years and years after the new South Africa, they still embraced it. They were like, you know, something is going to change. Something is going to, you know. So like they wanted us to be one. We wanted us to be one and equal and forget the past and build the future. We honestly wanted that. So now the one thing that could balance the scales, you are vilifying, you're calling it racism. What are you expecting from us? And we know that, like, you live in Obama, Kemps Bay, like, you know, you know, like you have wine farms, whatever you call it. Like,
what more do you want?
What do you want from us? What do you want from us?
Yeah, sure. No, so true. So true.
You know, and this way, man, in this country, there's genocide against women. And black women are particularly vulnerable. But because like they don't have cars, they have to walk on the roads, they have to do this. They're particularly vulnerable. If we were to talk genocide and stats, those are the people who are in danger, who are endangered.
Absolutely.
You know? So like all of these false narratives, it feeds to that whole thing. But Ababantu, like they don't see us as human like them, man. Because why would they even think that they have a right to complain about this after everything we've had to endure and had to put away? Because I'm not going to say forgive. put away, like to try and forge a new path forward. Why would you do that? What do you expect then when you do that?
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's so refreshing to hear someone actually vocalize these things, because I think we're harboring a lot of this internally, but for some reason we're not expressing it with the same confidence as this other genocide myth is being expressed.
And also it's being spread,
Fast.
That's why I'm saying that the algorithm, there's something to do with the algorithm. Well, Elon Musk is cooking that algorithm.
We saw that Grok thing where
suddenly... But it's a glitch. I'm like, sure. Like you were trying to make Grok, amplify white genocide in South Africa, and it didn't work.
And then people were calling Grok Ukrok after he was like disputing Elon Musk.
You said Elon Musk is the biggest spreader of disinformation. And Elon Musk was like, I'm going to teach you. You will never, ever again. And then the app glitched, like the AI glitched.
Yeah. Coming back to the musical side of things, what was the inspiration and how did you become inspired to make music? I read something that your mother was instrumental. Was that true?
Extremely instrumental. I grew up in a Bantustan. It's actually, like this year I've been saying that a lot. It's something that I've never really, really said. And I'm saying this because I realized that it's a different way of, it's a different world. It was a different world altogether than people that lived in South Africa. In that we were insulated quite a lot from the racism that people in Soweto were experiencing, etc., etc. We lived in our own bubble, in the village, in the Bantustans,
Right. So this was Equa or somewhere near?
Equa, Elusikisik.
Right.
Flagstaff.
Right.
Yes. Like we moved around a lot when we were young.
And how did your mother's influence affect your musical understanding?
So my mother was a church gospel singer, but she was special. And I'm saying this without, she was special. When she sang, so I come from the Assemblies of God. That's the church I grew up in. And the kind of Assemblies of God that I grew up in is not like the same as the ones that I see today. It was not sophisticated. We didn't have a piano. Our voices were our instruments, which is something that stayed with me. And we clap our hands, we stomp our feet. It was a spiritual church. So the spirit then would rise and then people would fall. And people don't understand that, and I don't want to explain it. I don't want to talk about it. But it's something that has happened. My mother was one of those people who, when she opened her mouth, the whole church fell to the ground.
Wow.
And as a result of that, she would be called from church to church to just come and sing, So she would always be called to this church. And then she was young and unmarried and a virgin. So that also was a big thing. Everyone wanted to marry her. She had to run. Amasoka, they're chasing her. She has to run and hide here and run and hide there. That's a by the side kind of thing, a story that I like to tell about her. She finally met my father, who was a preacher at the time, and then they got married, and I'm their firstborn. And then after that, she slowly stopped singing.
I see.
But I get my voice from her. So I didn't know she never told these stories. I only found out when I was much older. But for me, when she would sing just before we pray, something about my mom did not have a loud voice. She had a very quiet and calm voice, but something about that voice would just open things inside of me that, I did not understand, but it would just make me feel so much better. And And I have her voice as well, just mine is bigger, but like the calm is from her. And that's how come I say like she's my biggest, because I would always be so much in awe when I would watch her sing.
Wow. I'd have loved to have witnessed that myself, actually.
Yeah, me too.
When did you realize that?
When I said me too, I mean as in on stage, like her doing it in church. Yeah,
it would have been, and it makes you think of, I mean, the greatness that we lost also in the Apartheid era, the talent that we lost, and obviously communities were able to experience it, but I'm sure your mother would have been also a great internationally renowned musician.
I think she would have been. I think she could have been so huge because she had a special. I've got a thing for special voices. There are people that can sing great, like Jennifer Hudson. She can sing.
Sure.
She doesn't have a special voice.
So something about the quality of the voice.
Like Rihanna can sing live, but her voice, she's got a special voice. I love Rihanna. There's something, some people call it anointing. I think that's, that's too religious, there's something about the voice. So I like people with those kinds of voices. The voice just grabs you.
When did you realize like you could really sing and that you were extremely talented from a singing perspective?
In matric. I thought I loved singing, right? And I would really put my back into it. But I loved it for me. Like I was passionate about it, right? But I did not think that outside of church, it was anything, right? It was just like church, school choirs. I was big on school choirs as well. And then this is a thing that also made me think that I did not have I just had a church voice. In the school choirs, the big ones especially, they would put me right at the back. And I would always, I was an alto, I would always want to be at the front, or second row. They would always take me to the back. And I'm not tall, so I'd always be wondering, why am I always, So I thought that there's something wrong with my voice. I went back to my school decades later, and I spoke to the music teachers, and they were like, no, your voice was too big. That's the reason you put it, not because it was not nice, because that thing made me feel for many years that I only have a church voice. My voice is not good for anything else, right? So the very first time I knew that, okay, there's something there. I was in matric. We had just done the valedictory ceremony, where me and a friend of mine, we sang It's So Hard to Say Goodbye, that. And then our principal and deputy principal were a couple, they were married, and they had been in exile. Right. So they were well-traveled. This is in Tata, right? Like in the 90s. They were well-traveled, well-read, etc., etc., So we were all just in awe, but these people would come back from America and come and teach us right? And the other thing, the wife was the principal, not the husband. Even that, and they were a couple, and they were, we were just in awe of these people.
Yeah.
Then the deputy principal comes to me after the show, and life-changing moments are not necessarily big like this, dramatic. They can be very quiet. He comes to me and he says to me, very just just by the way, you could really do this for a living, this singing thing. Then he walks away. That moment changed my life, and he has no idea.
Wow.
Because that's when I was like, this guy has traveled, he's listened to great music, and he thinks that I, little old me, because I've always been old, little old me can do this. And then that's when I started actively working towards that goal of being a musician.
So you've got a celebration of 20 years in the industry. Talk us through that project and why you thought it was important to mark this important 2 decades that you've contributed to our country's cultural life.
I think, firstly, this moment for me, I'm 45 now, right? So I obviously won't always be singing forever. You could even say I'm halfway through my life if I'm 45. Like chances of reaching 90, like it's possible, but
Sure.
you know. So for me, like this is, how do I put this? It's not a crossroads. It's a type of a precipice, right? Taking stock of the 20 years. I'm a person who never celebrates my achievements, but with this, I need to take stock of who I've been like these past 20 years, what I've done, right? And what the results have been. Take stock of that.
Absolutely.
Because now I want to plan the next 20 years. Because I don't see myself singing beyond the next 20 years. So now I want to plan so I have to deal with this, be thankful, and then move to the next phase. Who am I going to be now? As an adult. So I'm celebrating like what I've done so far and taking stock of everything, because that's the other thing that I don't do. I don't take, like, I've seen recordings of mine that I had even forgotten about, like live recordings that are, TV worthy, like they can be on TV tomorrow. I'm a hoarder. Like I've got so much. So to just take stock of all of that, so I can also clear out that clutter, put it out. I must put out all of these recordings. I've been recording my shows since like almost the beginning of my career, and I've got some great recordings as a result that have never been released. So like go through my archives, like do all of that. Definitely. And then start now. The next 20 years of my life are going to be what? It
would be amazing to be able to have access to some of those recordings. Like I can see a whole Netflix documentary on just that 20 years of expression.
Yes, totally. I also see it.
And how can people access the show? I definitely wanna come to one of them.
Okay, so on the 14th of June, we will be at the Playhouse in Durban. And then on the 27th and the 28th of June, we will be in Cape Town at the Baxter Theatre.
Wonderful. And
we're still planning a day for Joburg.
Okay.
Yes.
Keep me updated.
Now, Joburg is my city.
Yes.
This is where I became Simphiwe Dana.
Yeah.
So it holds a very special place in my heart. I would never leave them out. Yeah. And then we're also planning for the Eastern Cape as well. But the dates that are definite for now are these ones. Yeah.
Well, best of luck with all of that. And thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. But thank you also for 20 years of incredible music that is a cultural archive for our country. For outspoken commentary as well. And just for, elevating the experiences of our country in the way you have.
No, but thank you to the people as well that have supported and carried me throughout the years. Because honestly, it's the people. I'm still here because people still feel I'm relevant to their everyday. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm humbled by that. So thank you to the people at home.
Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Comment down below with your thoughts on that incredible conversation. Like, share, help us get to our next milestone of 250,000 subscribers. Make sure you attend Simphiwe Dana's 20 years in the industry show, wherever you are in the country. And keep it locked on SMWX. Aye.